Hey, good afternoon to Singapore and Southeast Asia, and good morning to the Nordics. My name is Sami Askelainen from Nordic Innovation House, and I'll be your host today. So it is my great pleasure to warmly welcome you all to our Water, Waste and Food Virtual Market Entry Program, Vietnam Knowledge Sharing Session. Just a quick recap regarding the house rules as usual before we start. So please keep yourself muted when you are not presenting or asking questions. We do have time allocated for the Q&A at the end, and then you can use the chat to ask questions. Please also then remember to indicate to whom your question is for. And as always, we are recording this session, and then the recording and all the presentation decks will be shared with all the participants in 24 hours after this session. Good. So in our program, so last week was all about wastewater and waste solutions in Singapore. And this week it's time to shift the gears a little bit and focus more on Southeast Asia. And today we are delighted to have an excellent lineup of experts from Vietnam, including 2 female doctors, which is not very common. So very happy to have all these speakers with us today. And if you have a look at the agenda, so first we have presentations from local experts. So we have Dr. Kasia Weina, who's a director and co-founder at the Evergreen Labs. Then we have Dr. Tine Rørvik, who is a global director of circular economy at Siam Cement Group. And then we have Mr. Pham, who is a senior advisor at Business Finland, Vietnam. And then after these experts, we will hand over the stage to the Nordic TPOs. And we have basically from Innovation Norway, Arne-Kjetil, Lian. And then Mr. Pham from Business Finland, Vietnam will continue. And in this Nordic TPO section, when we're going to hear more about what kind of market opportunities there are for the Nordic companies and you know how the market entry process goes. And of course, very important, then you will have also the face and the contacts for the Nordic representatives in Vietnam in case you want to explore these markets also. And then we have a time for the Q&A at the end, roughly half an hour. And with that, I'm then gonna hand over basically the stage to Kasia. So over to you, and you can start by sharing your screen.
Great, thank you very much. Let me share my screen to get started. Okay, can you see my screen, I hope?
Yeah.
Great.
All good.
Present. Okay, perfect. Can you see it?
Yeah, all good.
Awesome, great. Well, thanks for having me. My name is Kasia Weina. I'm the director and co-founder of Evergreen Labs. I'm sitting here in Da Nang, central Vietnam. It's, I think, good morning for the Nordics that are joining. It's a great pleasure for me to share a bit about a Vietnam waste landscape. I only have 10 minutes, so it's going to be quite rushed for me. So I am looking forward to the Q&A, and I'll try my very best to get through the presentation, but that's a very short time to explain the waste ecosystem in Vietnam. So just to start, I'd like to share just what are we doing here very, very briefly. So Evergreen Labs is a social and environmental consulting and also project development organization. As I said, we're based here in central Vietnam since 2016. Our main aim is to create as much positive impact as we can. And we do this through first sustainability advisory work, but also through experimentation, where we're testing and piloting new solutions in various sectors, including waste. And those solutions hopefully go on and become social enterprises on their own, which is our solution portfolio. To date, as I said, we're working in several sectors, including waste management, but also in community-based tourism, agriculture, and sustainability. We've developed many projects with various partners, such as large clients like ADB and IUCN, and also smaller donors and NGOs. So to focus on waste in Vietnam today, I just wanted to give a brief overview. And like I said, this is very brief, and then dive in a bit into the value chain, as I think this might be quite unique for Southeast Asia. So at the moment, Vietnam is quite an interesting market when we're looking at waste, specifically because things are changing as of this year. At the moment, waste is being managed and continuously reorganized through the government. At different ministries are involved, and also there's a lack of clear regulations around specifically sorting and recycling. At the moment, waste collection is really taking place in mainly urban areas. So that's where we find up to 85% collection rates, while in rural communities, it's not well integrated into municipal systems. So we have a very low of 40%, I would say maximum, taking place on the rural level. We still have very common practices here, such as burying waste. Even on the beaches in central Vietnam, people are still doing this. And we also have people burning waste, which is also quite common in Southeast Asia, unfortunately. Vietnam is currently ranked 17th among the 109 countries on an annual plastic emission scale. I think everyone is also familiar with the ocean-bound plastic, where Vietnam has been ranked 4th. This is also very debatable, so I won't go into too much detail about this, but those are the statistics to date. So what I mentioned early on is that this will be changing, which I think is a quite interesting point for me to also share. There's been a new directive that has been approved this year, specifically a new environmental reform law. And this will aim to strengthen the reduction, classification, but also the collection, recycling, and disposal of waste, specifically targeting plastics. As of now, plastic waste is actually not really a recognized waste stream. So this new reform law will actually give waste a bit of value and demand authorities to create master plans around waste management. There's quite a lot of detail about this new law, but there's about 11 clauses. And like I said, it's really redefining responsibilities within ministries, but also within localities, and how to strengthen, minimize, sort your waste, and treat plastic waste. So at the moment, it is currently very difficult and complex to obtain a recycling permit or license in Vietnam. This is for several reasons, but I'm pretty confident with the new environmental reform law, this will be expected to change. I think in early 2022, some of the initial reform will go into place, which includes source separation. So just to zoom in a little bit more about plastic waste and give you some numbers. Again, this is changing and there's not a lot of accurate data in Vietnam, but what I've read recently, so it's estimated that Vietnam is producing about 30 million tons of waste per year. Of that, about 12 to 14% is plastic. So if you calculate it out, about 4 million tons. Just to give you an example with PET, so plastic water bottles, etc., that is about 10 to 13% of that waste. So that will give you about 500,000 tons per year. So currently, what's also very important to mention, I'll explain in a bit, if I'm looking at the PET value chain, only about 15% is currently being collected. So there's still a huge opportunity for collection of material, and specifically recycled material, in Vietnam. Just to give a bit more depth to this, of course, not all waste is treated equally, especially here. There's an informal sector that's responsible for all the collection and recovery of plastic waste, and actually all waste that's being recycled. At the moment, they're looking for the type of material, the quality of the material, and that determines if they will collect and recover that material. So speaking on behalf of plastics, at the moment, only high value plastics are being recovered, meaning PET and HDPE or other hard plastics. But if you look over at the Vietnam waste composition on the right, it's quite interesting because it's I would say, relatively unique composition, where 65% of Vietnam's waste is actually organics. They're consuming a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables here, while the 12%, as I alluded to in the previous slide, is where plastics comes into place. So as I mentioned, about 15% of that's being collected and recycled, those high value materials, while the 85% is still being disposed of. And all of my quite negative and sad imagery is showing that it's also ending up in our oceans, our rivers, on our beaches, etc. So just to reiterate, a lot of these low value plastics at the moment are not being collected, which include wrappers, flexibles, styrofoam, multi-layers, plastic bags, etc. And also one interesting point to mention is due to the low collection rates and the quality of the material, Vietnam is actually importing a lot of recycled plastics from abroad, mainly from Japan, to process here. So to try and get through, and I think the last 5 minutes, a bit of the value chain, I wanted to go through step by step, but really focus on the collection part and on the informal sector component, as they're quite unique for Vietnam, and it's actually repetitive through a lot of Southeast Asian countries. But this is the value chain as it stands now, and this will be shared with you after the presentation. But at the moment, there is no source separation at household or business level. All waste is being mixed, including with organic waste, and put on the side of the street or brought to small dumpsters. These are the sites where the informal waste workers, the freelance pickers or scavengers, as you may know them, go to collect and pick the valuable waste. That's not only plastics, that's paper, that's metal, etc. And they're trading it up through a value chain, which I'll go into a bit more detail. So this informal sector is really the key to recycling in this country as it stands, because as I said, there's no source separation taking place. These are also free workers, mainly women, taking on these jobs. And there's also a bit more complex ecosystem going on here. However, once the waste is collected and consolidated and aggregated, there is some pre-processing and very simple recycling taking place before end products are being made. Not very many at the moment in Vietnam due to the reasons I mentioned previously. So just to zoom in quickly at the informal sector, as I mentioned, I think this is quite unique and maybe something not so familiar. As I said, the informal sector is really the workhorse of recycling collection in Vietnam. So if it wasn't for them, nothing would be recycled, as there's no separation happening at all. We actually did a study last year with UNDP and analyzed the informal sector in Da Nang, but we found that over 80% of these workers are women. They don't have access to social benefits or any health services, so they really suffered during COVID. But they prefer to be free workers, as a lot of them are also mothers, so they have time to pick when they have no other responsibilities, so this is also quite important. As I said, the systems are quite complex, so I'll call them syndicate-like structures, but maybe more accurate would be mafia-like structures are taking place here when we're looking at specifically PET trading. So this is really important to keep in mind. So just really quick explaining this value chain. As I said, waste pickers are picking at source. They're collecting from households directly, but also build strong relationships with businesses and construction companies, post-industrial waste companies, and they're trading to their well-trusted collection points, collection centers, or junk shops, I think also a common word. And those also get traded up one more level to some sort of aggregator, which is trading tonnage then of material. Again, not only plastics, but paper and metal, before it goes on to sort of the pre-processing stage and then the recycling stage. So to end, because I think I'm almost on time, I just wanted to bring back the value chain and sort of identify, of course, the gaps, which I alluded to throughout, but I think also I see it as an opportunity. So at the moment on the waste source stage, there's currently no separation. So of course, a big gap would be, how can we recover enough feedstock? Right. An interesting opportunity definitely lies in infrastructure development here. As I mentioned earlier, there's a new reform law that will make this mandatory. So I think this is a quite interesting opportunity. And then going into the collection and aggregation, of course, you need to keep in mind the current mechanisms in place. So if I'm looking at the informal side, is there a way to incentivize the collection of more material? Or can we prioritize material that's not currently being collected? Are there ways that we can be more inclusive when we're considering how we go about business in the private sector, so to not cut out these bottom of the pyramid workers? Aggregation, of course, is important. Is it possible that we can collect enough volume of material we need, enough feedstock? Of course, keeping costs in mind to make sure the business model is still viable. But also, is there enough high quality feedstock that we can collect? And again, that links back to the waste source separation. If source separation comes into play and comes into law, I should say, in 2022, this might be overcome. And then the last stages of the value chain, of course, is looking at recycling, considering transportation. If you have manufacturing in the south, can you get enough volume of material across the country? There's not a lot of good infrastructure in Vietnam. For example, 90% of the roads are in the north compared to the south. So these are all things that would need to be considered. And then at the final stage of producing your end product, it's a very attractive market in Vietnam at the moment, especially for recycled material. But there's a lot of questioning around, is the Vietnamese recyclable material able to reach such high international standards of compliance for export, for example? But there's a huge market opportunity here, as there are very few recyclers at the moment, for reasons that I mentioned earlier, including lack of feedstock and lack of high quality material. But I also see that as a quite large opportunity. Okay, so with that, I think I'm on time. So sorry, I was speaking quite fast. But if you have any more questions or you want to reach out to me directly, feel free. I'm happy to support. Thank you.
Excellent. Great. Thank you so much, Kasia. That was a very quick, comprehensive overview.
I tried.
Thanks for that. And I'm sure there will be some questions coming in later on. Very good. Next, we're delighted to have Tine Rørvik from Siam Cement Group presenting for their point of views and expertise, although from Norway, but still operating very heavily in this region. So with that, Tine, I'm going to hand over to you.
Hey, good morning here from the Norwegian coast. So I'm not so lucky as Kasia. Actually, I've never yet get the chance to go to Vietnam. But it's really high on my agenda when I can travel again, and you will understand why when you have listened to my little talk. So I'm not a Vietnam expert deep into the system as Kasia, but I will tell you how we are working with the current waste value chain and why we're doing that. So, okay. So 10 minutes, yeah, okay, that's quick. As SCG, as we are branded, is a Southeast Asian huge industrial company. We have the head office in Bangkok, and we are into, I would say, 3 main businesses. Started out with cement over 100 years ago, started by a royal decree. So SCG is also owned by the Crown Property Bureau. That means the Kinh family. So it's kind of a very high rank company in the country. And the cement is also, the operation of cement is also quite much around in Southeast Asia, not only in Thailand. And we are also then large in chemicals, and that also includes plastics. So that is where is my main field. As Sami mentioned, I work as a global director of circular economy, and you can imagine why this has kind of boomed during the last 3 years, where we really see we need to do something with all the plastic littering and get the plastic back into the value chain. And as also Kasia pointed out, it's not straightforward. It's a huge work there. And then, but we are also, that means that we are producing plastic raw materials. So all the plastic that goes to the packaging, goes to the car, goes to the pipeline. So it's of course much more than the what we see as litter. But of course we also have to then engage. And then we are also into packaging. This is our old paper division. That means that we're also producing paper packaging. So in that sense, we're a little bit neutral, try to find concept which most beneficial for use. So we are around 55,000 employee, so a rather huge company. And the reason why I'm in Norway is that we're also working a lot with innovation and technology, and really to try to tap on what is going on in the world, and then try to then leapfrog development stage in Asia and really implement that into our thinking and our production. So it's a very good and smart way of working. Okay, so that was a little bit about SG. So of course, since I'm here, we also have operation in Vietnam. And you see all the dots and the stars that we are quite spread out. I also would like to mention that because I know it's not only plastic companies joining or people in the plastic value chain is joining the seminar. But you're of course into many other type of production, both cement, paper. You see under the cement, it's a lot of other building material, and all of this, of course, industry require. We have a zero waste policy, so that means that all of these include also water treatment and all the other things that we are working with. I don't know that side very well, so but this is very important for us. On the chemical side, we are building a huge petrochemical plant in the south in Barria Vung Tau of Vietnam. It's not up running yet, but it's I think in a couple of years it will be in production, producing enormous amount of plastics. And of course, that's why it's also now extremely important for us to engage in order to work with this plastic and try to get it under control. Just wonder, yeah, okay, yeah. So that brings me to my working field. It's really because our mission is to become a regional business leader with emphasis on innovation and sustainability, and that we have had for a very long time. So that was long before circular economy came up, and the plastic issue came up very strongly. So and we have also now pledged net zero. That means that we will have a zero emission by 2050, which is extremely challenging for a company in the cement business, because making cement, you're also making CO2. But that means that when we're working with a plastic issue, we need to have two things in our head at the same time. So we need to get organized the plastic value chain and get the plastic back to the value chain, but we also need to make sure that whatever we do, we don't increase our CO2 footprint. We have to reduce that. So that's very important, and I see, because I'm not so much in the concrete project, I'm much more working on the international arena and the discussion here, because I'm responsible for our international partnership, and that means that this is very, very interesting part of the debate. So we don't do things that actually is not good for the other thing. So make sure that. But that means that we are working a lot on circular economy, and if you have been in Thailand a lot, you know that Thai people work very much with their heart. So that means so this is very strong from the top management also. So that means that we really put a lot of emphasis to try to fix this, but it's not very, very easy. I must say that when I started this job, I was thinking it was much easier to just implement the systems we have in Norway in a way, but actually it's not, far away from that. So hard work. So we have SG is very, very occupied with corporate social responsibility. I think it's also because we are where we are. So we feel that we are also obliged to do a lot for the society. So halfway NGO way of working. And for instance, we work here with check dam. I think the employee has been joining to build soon 100,000 check dam around in Thailand, and you can see from the picture up in the corner there, that's how the nature around that cement factory in northern Thailand looked before we started to kind of work on this damming, which is very good for society. So kind of working with the holistic picture on doing good for society is extremely important. So then now last year, then we finally launched our new business in circular economy. I think it's important to go and try to make business out of this because, as Kasia mentioned, we need to fix the value chain and we need to get raw materials, etc., into the business. And that means that if we have no value in that value chain, it will not fly. It will only fly as long as we get money from for corporate social responsibility money, and that doesn't work for a long time. So we need to get this under control in a business manner. So we work on design for recycling, so make sure that the packaging we are working with actually suits for recycling. We work with I would say recycle plastic, so mechanically, so we can collect and then sort, wash, and then and try to resell to our customers. So our target is to increase our recycled resin, so we can sell recycled polymer to the customer instead. We started that business now in Thailand. The funny thing is very difficult to get hold of plastic waste, so it sounds very strange, but that's actually a big challenge. Then we work with feedstock recycling, so we want to get it back to making new plastic. It's also quite difficult. We started our new pilot there in Thailand. And then we also work with bioplastic. So if you produce plastic more from organic material, for instance. Okay. And then Kasia showed this. I don't know actually if the figures are the same, but we got this from our study. So we said that, okay, we have to start up in Vietnam, and then we started more or less beginning of last year actually. So we have not worked so much with this, but we are going to try to we have studied the value chain to see where can we make a difference, what can we do, and as a big industrial player, actually we can try to put this in a business manner and scale up the project. So that's the target. So this figure you have already. And then we have analyzed to see where in the value chain do we see where is the challenge, where in the gap. And again, that you have already also seen, but good to see we see the same thing, Kasia. But we see, of course, it's a great gap on the waste segregation. It's partly quite good waste management system. So it's just look at the waste segregation, and in the end, since we are building a large petrochemical site and we now are into recycling business, we can also help to put up the whole value chain in a way. So that's why we are interested to try to help in this manner together with partner. I will come to that, but I think that is the biggest gap. And of course, when we get that, we can also set up more recycling facility, and of course increase the quality, because quality is a big issue in the recycle waste. I must say that's a big issue in Europe too. It's another topic, is a big issue. Okay, so we do collaborate. So I would like to end my talk because since I'm responsible for international collaboration, not only on the polymer side, I work also in a lot also for the corporate in this type of matter. We are very active in the World Business Council of Sustainable Development, where we have the overall large discussions. It's very interesting. And then we are also an active member of Alliance to End Plastic Waste, which has been, for me, being engineer in my backbone. I really like to do something. I just don't want to talk. And with the Alliance, we are now investing $1.5 billion into the infrastructures and into the societies to solve the plastic waste problem. And with the many of the biggest companies in the world and the whole value chain, it really matters. So we see now is a very good network of projects we have around. So we like to work through this because that helps us. It's so many great experts. So it's people that really know how to do this. So that is a good organization to link to for all the companies here, I would say, and study because they have call for projects. And we work with innovation, we work with infrastructure build-up, we work also with education because you have to do that part too, and we work with the cleanup. So we work with all these fields, also together with the Alliance. And we are also part of Ellen MacArthur Foundation to also, it's good for me to be part of that because that I use that to push the company also to move forward. And then we have one project which we have then selected. It's very close to our planned petrochemical plant, and that's in Vung city. And actually, our missionaries to make the whole city zero plastic leakage. So not only one small project, actually we try to change the whole city, and of course we need friends to do so. We have been working with Innovation Norway very close. That has a lot of skills and a very good contact network. I have to use my Norwegian company for that, but it's very good because and that I think I have also had other type of jobs earlier, leading a kind of more startup, and I think that they really use the Nordic network is so useful when you want to enter the market, and as a door opener, that has been a great success for the company that I've been leading in Norway. That's how I met SG actually in the first place. So that was the commercial and my biggest tip, I would say, to enter. But we want to go into Vung. We want to really to change the whole city. It's a good dialogue with the city government, which you have to do, and looks good. But of course, it takes time. But we most likely we get the pre-project to start. You have to, because if you really want to change the whole town, you have to do it right. And you have to make sure that you take care of the people that are already there in the waste, because waste is value. And in this project, just to mention to the one that is not so interested in plastic, I think that we will look into all waste. So we will not only say that only take the plastic. We have to take care of the all waste in this project to start. And then we are also working through public-private partnership, and this was launched last year, where we're working together with another partner, Dow, Unilever, which is the big one of the world's biggest brand owners, and SG, together with the government. And that's also that was started before our work, even together with our operation in Vietnam. And of course we will work together, and it's really about the waste management. Yeah, I think that was very, very short, but that was mainly, sorry, not very deep into Vietnam, but you're showing. So we are starting up now, so it's very interesting and really working very well together with. We have scanned a lot of partner in Vietnam, and we work now with the Alliance to End Plastic Waste. We'll now also work together with us and Innovation Norway and see if we can get this project going. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Tine. And it's also great to hear that like you are ramping up a lot of these activities in a case that then, for example, if some of the Nordic companies in this program wants to then explore some opportunities in Vietnam or Thailand later on. So there might be something from there. Thank you so much, Tine, and we will then see you also on this week's Friday in our program closing event. So looking forward to that. Next, we have then Kinh Pham, who is from Business Finland, Vietnam. Kinh will talk more about wastewater type of opportunities and activities in Vietnam. I promised to share his presentation, so give me 1 second and I'll open it here. And I hope that everyone can.
So to finish.
All right. So with that, Kinh, over to you.
Much about water sector or not, but I will provide you with some basic knowledge, opportunities in order for Nordic companies to access to this market. So regarding water market, we had to, next slide please, we should understand that there are two main aspects. That is a clean water supply and wastewater treatment. Clean water supply is to collect and process raw water and make it into clean water and distribute to the end users. The wastewater is the way around, to collect the wastewater, the used water, and process it into the safe water and discharge back to the nature. Next slide, please. But in this presentation, I would emphasize on wastewater because regarding the process, clean water supply is rather simple and rather same as everywhere in the market. only wastewater is different from place to place, different from industry to industry. Therefore, I would like to emphasize a little bit more about the wastewater in my presentation today. So regarding the clean water supply, actually the Nordic supplier, the name of some Nordic brand products like AVK or Grundfos has been known in Vietnam since the 1980s. Thanks to the support of the government, Hanoi has had the first clean water supplied in around in
Kinh, I think we have some connection issues. Do you mind perhaps switching off your video? Let's see if that helps. We would love to see you, but if that's eating all the bandwidth, so.
Okay, I will stop my video, just audio to
yes,
save
please.
my bandwidth. Sorry for that. Yeah, the connection in Vietnam is very bad recently. Now can you hear me continuously?
Your video is
Hello?
back.
Yeah, okay, my audio is back. Oh,
no, your video is still on. Okay, now it's, thank you.
Okay, that's okay. I hope everything's okay. So regarding clean water supply, I would say Nordic, the name of Nordic suppliers has been well known in Vietnam since the 1980s. In Hanoi, there is a small street named Finland Water Street to thank the Finnish government for the donation of the first clean water plant in Hanoi. And besides, some other equipment from Nordic suppliers like AVK for valves and Grundfos for pump are well known in Vietnam. Mostly, they were equipped to the clean water supply plants in the 1980s and 1990s, thanks to the ODA, to the grant, the support from Nordic governments. And regarding the size, the capacities of each water supply plant is around from 2,000 to 25,000, or even very rare, 25,000 cubic meter per day per plant. And water supply plant are available everywhere everywhere nationwide. And as I said, the the clean water supply process is rather simple. Only to purify, to adjust the pH, and to sterilize from raw water and make it into the clean water, then supply to the end users. However, clean water in Vietnam is not recommended to drink directly from the tap because of the poor or degraded pipeline system, and during the transmission there will be some contamination included. And regarding the raw water in North and Central Vietnam, now the governments allow to use surface and underground water. However, underground water is getting limited because because of the over exploitation of underground water has harmed the soil layers under the ground. And in South Vietnam, due to the same reason, now only surface water is allowed to be exploited. Regarding the ownership, more than 10 years ago, almost all of the power supply plants are owned by the state. However, the government encouraged the ownership to be changed to private. Therefore, up to 90% of the power plants at this moment are private. Therefore, they can apply different selling price of water to household and to commerce purpose and to industries purpose. Next slide, please. Sami, next slide, please. Okay, in this water, I would start telling you about the wastewater. For wastewater, mainly, as I mentioned, and the process is rather complicated by different kinds of wastewater generated by different industry. Or for household, we call it sewage. For households, wastewater, it's rather simple, but for industrial wastewater, it's rather more complicated.
Kinh, we lost you for 10 seconds.
Okay.
So if you want to repeat that one, please.
Oh, you lost my voice? You lost my voice?
Yeah, now we can hear you again.
Yeah, okay. Okay, yes, next slide. Yes, this slide, I would like to show you a little bit about some principle in some basic process of the wastewater treatment. And first one, we'll be collect all of the wastewater from the sources, from generation sources, and then the first one will be screening and mechanical treatment. In this process, in this stage, mechanical treatment is applied in order to detach sand, fatty substance, and moderate the flow. Moderate the flow rates is something like you stir a glass of coffee to make sure that the sugars dissolve properly in your cup. So that is, I would say, this one is something like a sort of a mechanical biochemical. We from the
Kinh, I think the connection is quite unstable. Can you hear us? Kinh, can you hear us?
yeah, I tried.
Okay, now we can
you hear me? Hello?
Yes, now we can hear you again.
Okay, now can I continue? Okay.
Yes, please. Yeah, go ahead.
I tried. Yeah. Okay. I repeat in this slide. In this slide, I would like to show you the basic process of the wastewater treatment. And in the first stage is to use the mechanical treatment to detach some solid particle mixed in the wastewater, and then we remove it from the wastewater. Next one is some dissolved solid particle need to be flocculated or settled. Therefore, we have to use some physical chemical treatment to treat it. Secondly, and we once again we dissolve some dissolved matters in wastewater by aerobic biological treatment. As you can see in my previous slides, the tank with the propeller in order to provide air into the wastewater. So this is aerobic biological treatment. And the next one is to use some higher chemical to treat. In this treatment, pH is adjusted, chemical reaction with some chemical reaction or sediment, and finally, after treating, The water is disinfection by UV or adding some chlorine, but mainly by UV. Finally, we collect and dewater the sludge. As in earlier slide, you can see the solid part. After treating, we separate the solid part, and that one we call it the sludge. And in this stage, we collect the sludge and dewater the sludge and treat the sludge in another way by bury or to use it into a sort of material to create something else valuable. Next slide, please. Regarding the market, on the market perspective, I would emphasize on industrial wastewater. Because we have two kinds of wastewater, that is urban sewage and industrial wastewater. But in my presentation, I would like to emphasize on industrial wastewater, because the industrial wastewater is diversified, therefore require different kinds of treatment to treat the wastewater into the safe water before discharging back to the nature. In general, wastewater treatment must be in compliance with the National Code number 40. And later on, if any of you would interest in this National Code 40, please contact me. I will provide you with this code in details. And previously in this code, there are two columns, column A and column B. Column B is worse and column A is better, something like that. Previously, due to the poor facilities, column B applicable to wastewater after treated is acceptable. But recently, due to the pollution, actually, in fact, very bad pollution, the government tried to move the standard of output water to column A. So this means the wastewater treatment plant must be upgraded in order to comply with the column A in the Code 40. As I say, because of diverse kind of wastewater generated from different industry, from high to low toxic contamination, therefore different kinds of treatment method must be used properly in order to treat the wastewater into the non-toxic water before discharging back to the nature. And in food industry, recently we have made a mini survey with a small research about the wastewater in the food industry in southern Vietnam, and we found that even though the wastewater treatment plant is the owner of the wastewater treatment plant tried to upgrade the facilities. However, the residue of ammonium and phosphorus compounds is in the waste water after treating still at high. So I would say this is the major challenge, and also the business opportunity for Nordic supplier to involve in to tackle this challenge. And besides in wastewater, besides the wastewater in industrial parts is still contaminated a lot of hazardous elements, like pesticides factory. They generate very toxic wastewater, or cement plant, tanning factory, electrolytic plating, textile dyeing, etc. Still remain various kind of toxic residue. And one of the toxic matter, that is a heavy metal. That's why this is the big burden of the local government at this moment. And this also the local government is also calling for investment or penetration of the suitable solution supply in this aspect. Besides, we also found out that the value of sludge. Sludge currently, the sludge is only treated by landfill. However, with some kind of sludge, there are still a lot of nutrient in the sludge. So this can be used as a sort of material to produce something else. Next slide, please. To the market opportunity, as I mentioned before, I would emphasize on the wastewater treatment as the market opportunities for calling for the investment or the market suppliers. In the current trend, the local government is trying to improve the treatment plan instead of the individuals. I don't know whether you know anything about this or not. I would spend a little bit more time to explain this. Previously, in Vietnam, the industrial factories are located in the same place, so-called industrial park or industrial zones. And by law, every factory must have its own wastewater treatment plant for themselves, and then the wastewater to be treated to a certain level before transferring to the centralized wastewater treatment plant owned by the park or the zone administrator. And this centralized treatment plant will treat once again to comply with the standard of the output water before discharging to the nature. So this means every factory has no right to discharge directly their wastewater to the. Okay. Therefore, I would say this is a very good opportunity for the Nordic supplier to get involved in. A new trend is a recycle wastewater and liquid discharge has been applied to many places in Vietnam. For investment, PPP is preferred at this moment, public-private partnership. What we need what this market is now calling for business penetration. That's a technical solution applicable to industry wastewater, especially hazardous wastewater, and making use of sludge to convert sludge into something else more valuable. In the water supply, mainly the market is now needing investment capital from investors. And one thing recently has been highlighted in the Mekong Delta is that water salinization caused by the short water supply from upstream of the Mekong River. Therefore, this is one of the very hot topic at this moment. Besides, there's also the calling for involvement of how to reduce the water loss during the transmission. Due to time is limited, so I leave my contact here. Any of you interested in water market in Vietnam, you could contact me. Thank you. Sami?
Yes. Thank you so much, Kinh, and thank you for your presentation and all those wastewater related insights. Very good. Then we're going to move to the next section, and we're going to hand over then the stage to the Nordic TPOs, then to share their knowledge from Vietnamese market from their side. And we have Innovation Norway Director Arne-Kjetil presenting. So Arne, with that, I'm going to hand over to you.
Thank you, Sami. I will see if I manage to share this. Just 1 second, I need to I have not shared this on Zoom before, so just give me a second.
Arne, I have also your presentation here, so if it's easier, I can show it and then. Okay, very good. Arne, you are muted.
Okay. How about that? Can you both hear and see me?
Yes, we can. And if you go to presentation mode, so then we are good to go. So
what about that one? Is that okay?
now we are seeing the presenter notes. So you need to go to the display settings.
We don't want that.
I believe it's from there, display settings. Above the screen, there is a display settings. Yes, and if you click from there, yeah, try that. There you go. All right, stage is yours. And now you are muted. Arne, you are muted. Arne, you are muted.
Okay.
All right, now we can hear you.
Sorry about that confusion. The good news is that I always keep my time, so I will do this now in 6.5 minutes as a small token of my appreciation. So this is the team, a small but very competent team with me and 4 co-workers. As you can see, the 3 underneath me are all having special responsibilities. The first one, Hai, should actually have been LNG, then Haiyan on offshore wind and renewables, and Lian on aquaculture and restaurant materials. So just a couple of facts on Vietnam. I guess that most of you know about this, but still it's closing up to 100 million people here now. The GDP growth has been fantastic for the last decades, with more than 7% every year, highest in the region together with China. Even last year, in the annus horribilis of the pandemic, Vietnam managed to grow by 2.6%, and we expect again to be back above 6% in 2021. The COVID-19 situation here is very good. Very few cases, less than 3,000 cases in total after 15 months. 35 people have died, which is very few, of course, compared to other nations. The flip side of this, of course, is that it's been a closed country for the last year. So it's very, very difficult or almost impossible to do international business physically with people. But still, as I mentioned, the economy is rising. And lastly, I'll also mention that Vietnam is one of the very few nations in the world, actually, and especially in Asia, that actually stands up towards China to a certain degree, and they also position themselves to be a future alternative to China. So from Innovation Norway's side, again, after I took helm here in the last half of 2019, been very focused on 4 business areas: renewable energy, with our main customers Equinor, the biggest company in Norway, and Scatec, used to be Scatec Solar. Now they are also into hydro and solar. In the aquaculture, that has been a long-standing focus. LNG, very important in this country because it might be a suitable stepping stone to get away from coal, which this country still is way too depending on. And lastly, and more importantly in this forum, the circular economy. And of course, you also a very important customer of ours, Tine from SCG, speaking 1 hour ago. And I also hope to get Tomra, a very successful Norwegian company within this area, also on board. Still in brackets, but we have come quite far in the talks of looking into Vietnam. Then, very briefly on the opportunities for Norwegian companies, which are, or let's say Nordic companies for that matter, technology and solutions for municipal waste and plastic waste management. As Kasia mentioned also in the beginning here, it's a very, I wouldn't call this strange, but at least a very peculiar system, this syndicate system, which all of us living in Vietnam are experiencing on a daily basis with these cleaning ladies or trash ladies that are coming every day to picking up the trash and taking it God knows where to some sort of sorting. Then we have possibilities within the solutions for tracking and collecting marine river debris and waste from the fisheries. It's also a national database on tracking marine debris. It's recycling technology for plastic waste, and it's a waste to energy technology. This is just examples, so don't take it as anything else. And again, back to Tine and SCG, or Siam Cement Group. We have this project in Vung coming along quite nicely. It's a very cumbersome process because we have to be involved. As you know, this is a one-party state, and all the local counties and cities have their own people's committee, which is a very important factor. And this is then to support the city to improve municipal solid waste management on everything, basically. Yeah, this is again more like in the same aspect with this CDIA, the Cities Development Initiative for Asia, which then works very closely with SCG and the other parties in the alliance. So this is managed by the Asian Development Bank. So this is still on the preparation side, but we hope to get this flying throughout 2021. And then I'm also mentioning Tomra specifically as well, because they have this system of extended producer responsibility regulations are coming up also in Vietnam, and very interesting talks coming up with NONRE. That's the Ministry of Environment, to cut it short. And this also, we have high expectations long term, because as everything else in this country, we have to think long term. Very few things are happening short term, but long term is good. They are good at planning. Often we think that they set up too long deadlines, too extensive programs, but I guess that's also part of their way of thinking and the system here. So again, from the Norwegian side, it's SCG Norway and it's Tomra who are the main pillars so far. We are very new in this. I put up the circular economy as one of the 4 pillars only last year, and we only have one person aside myself building up expertise. But I hope also in this field to become lean and mean and efficient and be able to help also more Nordic or in our case, Norwegian clients coming along. So with these words, again, Tomra, thank you, or Kamun, as we say here in Vietnam. And I will be available also for the rest of the webinar for answering questions.
All right, thank you so much, Arne. And now we can open the floor to any questions. So Nordic companies who are in the program, this is a very good opportunity now to pick the brains of the local experts from Vietnam and actually even beyond. So let's agree that again, if you can raise your hand virtually, and then we will distribute the slots from there.
But Sami, have you forgotten the other Nordic presentations?
Well, it was Kinh basically.
Okay, very good.
Yeah. And he already covered the water side. All right. Do we have any questions? And then Matti Tervo.
Thanks. Sorry, I'm not going to turn on my video because I'm afraid that the bandwidth was not enough. So my name is Matti Tervo. I work here at the Embassy of Finland in Hanoi. I cover multiple issues from development finance to circular economy. And thank you for the lovely presentations. It was really interesting to hear what all the countries and companies are doing here. I have a direct questions to Arne, actually, if it's allowed, because you know, Monre is also discussing with the Embassy of Finland on how to implement and what kind of resources they could get from Finland relating to the new LPE, which is also mentioned by other speakers, so the law on environmental protection. So is this Tomra's model, are you looking into this reverse vending machine model in some pilot city, or what do you think would be the first steps? Thank you.
Hello, Matti. No, thank you for that question. Also, Tomra has a very long-term view on this, so they are quite reluctant to put up these machines because, again, you know, I'm an old guy now. I grew up in Norway. We had the Planke brothers who actually started Tomra 50 years ago. So this has been a part of my whole life, basically, you know, coming from Norway. But in Vietnam, these machines are still non-existing. Which means that there's no culture for this yet, but we think that this will change rapidly if there's some sort of financial benefit into the consumers using it. So, but again, Tomra understands the long-term view, so they are very reluctant to put out the machines too early, if you know what I mean. But still, they are in talks with one company to maybe utilize that company and that area, which I believe is in the Ho Chi Minh city, as a test. But this is sort of not high on Tomra's list, but it's high on this local company's list. So Tomra is much more keen to come into a dialogue like you are with Monre to sort of agree on the long-term goals. If that hopefully answers your question, Matti.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
And then we have a question from Heli.
Yes, so this is Heli Karaila from Valmet Automation Finland. And I have more detailed question to the Vietnam wastewater business. And once again, thank you very much for the very interesting presentation. And in your presentation, Pham, you mentioned that it is better to concentrate to the industrial wastewater plants right now. We have a little bit background, so we have offering to the wastewater and special advanced solid measurements, and those are used very much in the municipal wastewater plant as well as in the industrial. But is your recommendations to start at first in the industrial wastewater plants?
Thank you, Heli. The reason why I highlighted the business opportunity on industrial wastewater treatment because of the financial ability for city sewage, mainly controlled by the state, and the state, you know, in Vietnam, in order to achieve in order to proceed a project in sewage treatment, it takes time and also very how to say, very corrupted, I would say, to some extent. Therefore, industrial wastewater treatment is must be complied with it. And in the meantime, the owner
Kinh, I think that we are, the connection is breaking up again.
Now, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now? Okay, I try to answer as short as possible. The reason why I would emphasize on industrial wastewater treatment, because the project owners, mainly they have money to pay for the project during the implementation. And in the meantime, urban sewage treatment, mainly owned by the state. And the procedure to get the project or to implement the project is very complicated and also bureaucratic and even corruption. Therefore, I would like to highlight the the demand for industrial waste water treatment. And for details, for further details, we can discuss more later on. Haley, I hope my short answer meet your
Thank you very much, and let's keep in contact a little bit later. Thank you very much.
Yes, please. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, and then Matti raised the hand. We have one question here also coming for Arne. But...
Yeah, sorry. I mean, just as we happen to know quite a lot about wastewater here at the embassy as well. We have, I think, 5 or 6 new public investment funding projects coming up with the Vietnamese government. So the need for this sort of 15 to 40,000 cubic meter wastewater treatment plants for municipalities is high. But like Kinh pointed out, if you want to do business quickly, you have to focus on the industrial and the private customers. Because if you go with the local government, then it takes 2-3 years to develop the project, and there's a lot of uncertainties. So we have some sort of a backbone here as an embassy. We can give the support to the companies if they apply for our financing. Thank you.
Thank you. Matti, and if it's okay for Matti and Kinh, we can connect you directly with Heli after this session later on, so then you can take the continue conversation.
Thank you, Sami.
Thank you. All right, then we had a question to Arne from Ole.
Arne-Kjetil, Ole speaking. Can you explain why this interest for LNG in Vietnam? Is it for to exploit it, or from as a natural resource, or is it usage internally?
It's basically usage, because as I mentioned in my short presentation, the financial growth in this country has been formidable, and the need for energy is very big in the years to come. And for the time being, Vietnam is heavily depending on coal. And of course, that is also the reason why the air pollution, for instance, in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh is horrible. It's sort of the top 5 or bottom 5 in the world, basically, throughout the year. So the authorities is very keen to find solutions on this. And LNG, even though, of course, not being totally clean, much better than coal. So that is basically the main reason for their own usage.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you.
Good. Then I would actually have a question for Arne and Matti and even Kinh, that based on your experience when you have been seeing Nordic companies entering to the Vietnamese market, how crucial it is to have a local partner?
Gentlemen, please go first, and then I will follow you.
Yeah, okay. Well, I can start. It is, of course, many things to be said about that. Normally, they would need a partner to handle everything on the ground. Of course, we, for instance, as Innovation Norway or Business Sweden, I think is also on the line here, and the Finnish and the Danish, for that matter, could help the the companies to a certain degree. But it's very hard to manage this society on your own, and also if you do business that in any way can be linked to national security, it will also be limits, on the percentage and so forth, and so that will be decisive in those areas. And in other areas, I think that you basically need partners in most of the cases due to handle the business environment, basically, in a professional manner. But please feel
yeah, if I may continue, I think Arne said most of the things I wanted to say as well, but maybe I can just fill in from sort of project-based market entrance. So the most of the cases that I see here from the embassy are related to waste to energy and wastewater treatment and sort of like project-based market entrance. So in that case, it's you cannot come to the market without a local partner, because first of all, if you are establishing or trying to establish some sort of EPC models for the projects, then you always need a local partner for first of all, for practical reasons, it's cheaper, and then secondly, you can't have a supervising role on projects. You have to have local engineers in supervising because the law demands so. So yeah, I mean, in short, I would say that it's crucial for the market entry. Thanks.
Thank you, Matti.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen. And I would like to emphasize on the necessity of a local partner when you involve in the wastewater treatment project in Vietnam, because the local partner will help you to resolve so many sensitive issues arising during the implementation. And regarding the EPC contractor, to me, EPC contractor is not so crucial, because there are so many water contractor available in Vietnam, and they have a lot of experience, so they can carry out the solution, or they can carry out the project based on the solution, technical solution provided by the foreign partner. In Vietnam, as I mentioned in my presentation, because of diversity of wastewater generated from different kinds of industries, therefore it's necessary to have a local partner to provide the foreign partner with detailed information about the wastewater category, in order for a foreign partner to provide the suitable solution, and the rest the local partner can take care of. So that's the main point I would like to highlight. I hope it meets your question.
Okay. No, that was very good. Thank you so much, Matti and Arne-Kjetil. I saw there was one hand raised. I believe it was from Riku.
Okay, yes. So Riku from Embassy of Finland in Singapore. Hey, question for all of the experts. Where does the competition come mainly from? Is it Chinese companies, or what's the origin of the main competition in Vietnam in these sectors?
Good. Who wants to go first? Maybe we give the stage to the ladies. So if Kasia or Tine would like to start.
Sure, Kasia here. I can add a bit on the waste side. So good question. I think a lot of the competition in Vietnam is coming from local companies. There's not a lot of foreign invested waste companies in Vietnam at the moment. Some are coming in as PPPs, but it's quite new. So there are some local recyclers that I guess would be the competition, but I think the market's so open that I don't really see it as competition per se.
Good. Thank you, Kasia. Tine?
Well, I cannot say because I don't know. I've not been there, and I don't sell anything, and I don't know how the competition is. SG is a little bit like the other companies we are establishing there, but when that's said, of course, we are already a large industry player in Vietnam. So that means that we have a lot of people on the ground already on the petrochemical. Of course, that's a new part, but the other one is well established. So it will be more like a collaboration partner for maybe some of these companies, which of course I can try to help by put them in connection with the because we have a large department on sustainability. We have that we call under sustainable development. We have we are counting everything we are doing in the sustainability sector. So that means that those are in place in Vietnam. So that's what I can eventually they will have control on what is happening on a different side and buying services. And I'm sure they are using local supplier as far as they can, I guess, and but also open for new technology if it's a problem solved. I discussed with one of my team, she's working on the more on the bio and waste side, and she said that for of course one big topic for SG as such, and I mean for all our operation is also that was mentioned by Kinh, it's the recycling of water. So the water scarcity is a big issue. So that's maybe one area that could be of interest as such, not only for Vietnam but for our operation. That was very generic, but I cannot answer better than this.
Okay. No, it's good. Thank you. And then how about Matti or Kim?
Matti, may I?
Yeah, go ahead.
I would tell you something based on my actual experience in Vietnam, that sometimes somebody hesitates to say out, but I would like to say frankly, in order for Nordic supplier or Nordic partner when they invest in Vietnam or they involve in they build up business in Vietnam should be noticed. That is political relation. That's also once again relating to local partner, because I have also involved in municipal solid waste business, municipal solid waste management, and converted into energy for 4 years, and I learned one bit of things. One very big thing is that we have
Kinh, I think that we are
very tough competitor. Therefore, universities in Vietnam. Once again, can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll try to speak as fast as possible in order to roll in business as establishment in Vietnam, especially in environment sector, that is waste, municipal solid waste and wastewater. One of the very tough competitor we need to bear in mind is that the Chinese competitor, they take advantage in making the political relationships with the central government or some local government in order to get the project. Therefore, one of the things besides the financial ability, you need to find the right local partner in order to tackle this challenge. So that's all. Can you hear me all?
Yes. Now we.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Kim. Matti, anything you want to add?
Yeah, it's I would like to emphasize that even though it might seem like you're competing against the Vietnamese, you are in fact competing against the Chinese, especially in waste to energy. I don't know about recycling. Recycling is much smaller scale, in my opinion, and I don't know. I don't have much knowledge about that, so Kasia can probably elaborate more on that. But And then on wastewater, at least I've seen wastewater technology from every different country possible. There is, China, Japan, Korea, all the EU countries. So that is more like an open market. But yeah, I would say in the municipal wastewater treatment, so the public project and mostly the competition is from Japan for Finland. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Matti. I would also have one question for the for all the local experts. Also, Vietnam is quite a large country, right? It's very long. And what would be your advice where to start the business? Focusing on Ho Chi Minh or is Hanoi the right place to start?
I can start by saying a couple of words on that. I think that my advice, based on very limited knowledge, I have to say, this is also a new business for me, as I mentioned, would actually be a third. I would actually go to Da Nang, where Kasia, Weina is, because that's a more modern city. It's the size is more, how shall I put it, doable. Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh are both big animals and extremely challenging to, how shall I put it, to penetrate in all ways. So I think that Da Nang is a good choice. We have also Tine and myself are part of this Vung Tao issue, which also I think could be, that's a city sort of 500,000. Da Nang is 1 million plus, but a big and important center, and actually the number 3 city in Vietnam. So I think that will be my sort of cautious or gentle advice from my side. But again, with all possible, how shall I put it, stamps that I'm really not an expert yet on this.
Okay, Kasia.
Yeah, great. Thanks for recommending Central Vietnam. Don't forget us. Yeah, no, I of course would suggest Central Vietnam. I think often people go to the north or to the south and they forget about the middle, and there's great opportunity here, as already mentioned. I think the size is interesting. I think the government is more progressive here. You can move things quicker as we have a much smaller sort of penetration to get to the top level here. Permitting and licensing, another thing to consider. So if you're going to the south, getting a recycling license is nearly impossible. But if you're looking at other provinces, also south of here in Guan Nam, they're quite progressive in looking at how to handle municipal waste as they were running out of options. So I think as an alternative, consider Central Vietnam. Not only is it a beautiful place, but I think in terms of getting up pilots and testing projects, it's a really interesting market. But as I just want to echo what's already been mentioned about finding a suitable local partner, also go where that partner is or where they have expertise. If they do have good inroads in the north or the south, that might be a really great opportunity. But if you're looking to do things on a smaller scale or maybe with a smaller partner, I think the central market is quite interesting.
Okay. Good, thank you, Kasia. Anything, Matti? You want to add, or Kinh?
May I? Yeah,
Sure,
yeah. My answer to this question is a bit different from others. My viewpoint is not based on the geographical matter, but the ownership of the project. Regarding the project in Vietnam, it actually depending on the value of the project sometimes own the right to decide the succeed of that project is done by central government or local government or even the project owner. Therefore, my idea is that we should, when we involve in the project in Vietnam, we should consider the ownership. We should consider who is owner of the project, and then we make the right lobby or right approach to the project owner. In that case, we can secure the high possibility to win the project. So that's my main, and also financial ability is one of the very important factor that we should bear in mind whenever we deal with project in Vietnam. That's my idea. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Kinh. I think that we are running now, unfortunately, out of time. And it seems like we don't have any more questions from the audience. Like I said, we are sharing this the recording and also all the decks with all the contact details with among the participants. So that's a convenient way to continue conversation, and we will do a couple of those introductions directly to get the ball rolling immediately. But with that, I believe we have come to an end of our session. So I want to thank Kasia, Tine, Arne, and Kinh for spending your Monday afternoon with us and letting us to pick your brains. And thanks for sharing all these valuable insights. And with that, thanks again for everybody. Stay safe and bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
for
you.
listening. Yeah. Thank
Goodbye.
you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.